and thank you for joining us today on the Old Fashioned Health Network, Good Health Inside and Out. I'm Gwen McDaniel, your host for the Senior Living Show. We are so excited to have you here today because we have a very unique and special guest for you today. Our special guest is a strong staple in the Atlanta community, and she spent many, many years helping families become the individuals that God has created them to be. And so you're going to be extremely excited with some of the information we're going to share with you, because today we're going to talk about better relationships, healthy relationships, ages 50, 60, 70, and beyond. And so I'm really excited. All I need to do today is, probably lie over here on this sofa and we will have an awesome conversation. So our guest is Dr. Joyce Irons, and Dr. Irons is the owner and managing therapist of the Clarity Psychological Group in Atlanta. And she has a very unique way in which she helps her clients. And we want to share some of that with you today. We are approaching Valentine's. And so she's going to actually share a lot of good stuff with us. I want her to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about her journey and where she started and how she's been helping families, because I don't want to leave anything out. This lady is truly amazing, ladies and gentlemen. So Dr. Irons, it's so good to have you with me this morning. I am really thrilled to be able to talk with you. So tell us a little bit about your business here and what kind of led you up to this.
Thank you, Gwen, and hello to our listening audience, and happy Valentine's Day to you, Gwen, and to our listening audience. It is indeed a pleasure to have been asked to participate in this exciting, romantic holiday weekend to celebrate dating, love, and relationship at all ages. And it's so ironic that you said old-fashioned health, because I am a baby boomer. And we are talking today about love, relationships for baby boomers. Those of us who are 50 plus and beyond. That is old-fashioned. So we will be talking about old-fashioned dating. But first of all, let me tell you just a little bit about how I got started. And I want you to know this office is my passion. My clients are my therapy. I'm not just a therapeutic psychologist, but I get an awful lot of spiritual and therapeutic support from all of my clients. I attended Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, and I majored in dietetics and nutrition. I integrated Mount Sinai Hospital in New York as being one of the first African American dietitians, therapeutic dietitian. I have had many experiences. God has truly blessed me. I went on to get a master's degree from Long Island University in New York. I was majoring in administration and supervision because at the time I was promoted to assistant principal of the Hempstead High School. I also got a master's degree in counseling because at that time I was just exploring. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but God did. Jeremiah 29:6 says, I know the plan that I have for you. So God had a plan for me in the beginning. I finished that degree at Clark Atlanta University in counseling. I also went to D.C. and I taught at Howard University, where I furthered my studies and started working on a PhD in psychology. I wanted to know why people behave the way they do. I then transferred to Clark Atlanta University when my husband became dean of Clark Atlanta University Business School, and I finished my doctoral degree in counseling and psychology at Clark Atlanta University. I also studied in Mainz, Germany, and I have worked in several schools, colleges. I also worked in business. I was in management at Georgia Natural Gas Company several years ago. I was one of the top African Americans in administration there. So I have the thread has woven for me. And in all of that thread that was being developed in that quilt, I did not know that I would end up working in my passion. Owning my own company for the last 22 years in relationships and studying behavior. Because when relationships goes across the gamut, all of us, all people, are relationship beings. Van Moody wrote a special book on relationship, and I want everybody, if you have not read The People's Factor by Van Moody, I want you to read that book. Because he said, we are all in some type of relationship all the time.
True.
God created us that way. In creation, God said in the beginning, a man shall not live alone. Being in healthy relationships, walking by the side of the person that we love. But I have to mention right here that I am in a relationship with my spouse who will be 93 years old in August.
What a blessing.
Dr. Edward Irons. He is a retired dean of the business school from Howard University and Clark Atlanta University. And at 93 years old, this is very interesting, he is so excited to invite me to dinner. Our son, Chef Tony, owns a restaurant called the Pecan, and every year he has this special dinner for lovers who are in healthy relationships. And my husband has a standing invitation at the table, and every day he reminds me, sweetheart, please, have we made reservations for the dinner? I just want to take you out to spend Valentine's weekend with you.
Special.
And so I tried to talk to him and ask him, let's have dinner brought in and we'll sit by the fireplace and listen to soft music. He wants to take me out at age 93. I feel so blessed. I feel like in any relationship, you must teach by example. And I live the example of what a true, healthy relationship means.
What happens to relationships as we get older?
Number one, Gwen, in my opinion, I think that we've become complacent. We gave up. We resisted change. And in change, you know, the old cliche that only wet babies welcome change, we had to dispel that myth. And what happened in unhealthy relationships before, we could not just remain stuck. We have to forgive, and that's hard. It's very hard for forgiveness, because in forgiveness, we have to let some things go. And as human beings, we have so many baggage. And we take these old baggage into new relationships instead of letting them go. And you know, I love angels. I have angels all over my house, crystal angels, porcelain angels. But I have one angel that says, angels fly because they take themselves lightly. And then another great example that I use when I coach my clients about too much baggage, I use the example of Delta Airlines and the other airlines. Baggage cost. Overweight baggage cost. An eagle. An eagle is my favorite bird. And you look at an eagle, he flies, he soars, because he has no baggage. When he comes down to eat, and he moves up, he can continue to soar, because he has only the food that he needs to get him to his destination. So when you say what happened in relationships, we happened. We have the choice, because we are the choices we make, we have the choice to change, which means to grow. And he who is not busy growing is busy dying. So if we are to grow, like Van Moody said in his book, we have to forgive. We have to let some things go. And we cannot change in the flesh. And I think that's the hardest challenge that we have, because we keep trying to change, and like losing weight. We'll change for a minute and then we'll go back. Like building a house of straw and sand. But we can't change in the flesh for longevity. We have to change in the spirit. And we have to have a relationship with God in order to do that. And we call that a vertical relationship. And if we have a vertical relationship in the spirit, we would change in the spirit. Mm-hmm. So the spirit will tell our heart. Because change is a mindset. We have to change our minds. And then when we change our mind, the mind will change our hearts. That's spirit. So when we seek God vertical, we can love mankind horizontal. That's when change takes place. It's not difficult. We make things difficult to us. In any relationship, you must be equally yoked. Mm-hmm. That's in the beginning. And then we can work on ourselves. Because once we have a spiritual relationship, and I teach this, I teach it every day in coaching my clients. Mm-hmm. Once we have that spiritual relationship with God, then we can work on ourselves.
Absolutely.
The wholeness of self. To thine own self be true. And one who loves himself, one who loves God, the challenge is much easier.
It absolutely is. Well, I love that analogy. And I tell you what we're going to do. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back, ladies and gentlemen, and entertain some other questions with Dr. Joyce Irons. Back, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a really great conversation with Dr. Joyce Irons on better relationships 50, 60, and 70 and older. But now we want to really get into the source of what's behind some of these relationships. And so, Dr. Irons, I'd like to entertain the challenge that a lot of singles have, because for the first time since 2014, Forbes magazine said that we now have more singles in our population than married couples. And so with that being said, it does leave a void for a lot of people. And so companionship is a challenge for a lot of people. And I wonder what's your thought on why people are having difficulty finding good companionship and then having the support that we need to get beyond through that.
You're correct, Gwen. Not only does Forbes say that we have more singles, but we also have more divorces. Mm-hmm. 50% or more marriages end in divorces because of unhealthy relationship being at the forefront. Mm-hmm. We have more singles because we have far more women than we have males, and that adds for a lot. A lot of times we are so skeptical about how we date. Dating on the internet is very popular now among most age groups, but we are so accustomed to that face-to-face, that feeling, that body language, until at our age we would rather have a personal relationship because we're looking for companionship and we're looking for support. And so many of us are just lonely. And we're lonely because we don't want to take the risk. We're afraid of rejection, of being turned down. But women don't realize men are also afraid of risk and rejection. They don't like to be turned down. Men also don't socialize or don't think like women do when we're dating. They process information much differently than we do. But because they do, it doesn't mean that we are turn off. We have to get more understanding. And that's why I say when we talk about relationship, there are 3 basic components that we must start out with. I call it the CIC. Clarity, That's the name of my company, bringing clarity to confusion. Number one, you must have clarity in the spiritual realm. You know, Solomon, when he prayed, he asked for wisdom.
Yes,
he asked for an understanding. So we, at our age now, we're looking more for a good companion and a good support system. We've had our children. We've built our houses. We've bought our biggest investment. We've had our careers.
Right.
So we just need somebody to grow with us. We don't want to be lonely. We want to have that support. We want to have that companionship. So we need to step out there on faith, take the risk for a healthy relationship, no matter what the relationship is, whether it is white, black, single, male, females, same sex, whatever the relationship, as long as the relationship is healthy. I said clarity was number one. The second one is the I is intentional. You have to be intentional.
Absolutely.
Let the other person know what you expect. Have an expectation. At this age of our life, we know what we want in a relationship. We know what we don't want in a relationship. So be very upfront about it. Men will call it aggressive. We call it assertive. But we can have that as long as we have that understanding, we can be intentional. And when I say intentional, be intentional with what we say, how we say it. That's very important. We have to learn how to gird our tongue. Our tongue can be for our praise, or it can be so toxic that it can destroy us.
Sure.
We have to learn how to have an attitude, a healthy attitude, and think positive. Let that stuff go behind you. You know, Philippians, the third chapter of Philippians say, forget those things that are behind and press on to the mark. You know what your goals are. You know what your objectives are. Make it known. Talk to each other. Be open with each other. Be honest with each other.
Key.
And the next key in that C is connection. We have to connect. And you know spiritually if this person is right for you. We are so easy to say that this person is not my type. Maybe this is not the type that you need. Maybe the type you had was not the type that was the best type for you. Explore. Be creative. Listen. Relationships build. They're not found.
Right.
We have to grow these relationships. And we have to be confident in self. Bringing the whole self in. Know thyself. And to their own self be true.
Now, quickly, we have to get into another segment. I have some girlfriends that told me to make sure that I ask you this question. How do you maintain love and healthy sex relationships in this age group?
Good question. And when we come back, we will continue with this question. It's so much to talk about with relationships until we're trying to compact it into this short segment of time.
Well, that's great, because I'd love to have her back, guys.
But
I hope you do
this
too.
Valentine's weekend, I think the more we know about what we are looking for in a healthy relationships, we would know that we're not in our 20s and in our 30s where our hearts beat faster and we're just looking for hanging out and for having a good time and just being in a relationship. We want substance. We want growth. We want understanding. We want to be healthy. And we have a choice. And I'll talk about that when we come back.
Awesome, awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you are. It is, you can tell that it's a lot of information that can be brought forth to help us as we build relationships with one another. We get older, we're more confident, and as Dr. Iron says, we know what we want. We just have to be able to communicate that well, and she's going to help us in doing that. Sometimes there are challenges, but we will overcome that challenge. So I expect you to join us again on our next show when we bring Dr. Irons back and she share those things with us.
Henry David Thoreau says, ladies, for this Valentine's weekend, go confidently in the direction of your dream and live the life that you have imagined. Thank you, and happy Valentine's to all of you ladies out there.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.